Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Scream 5 trailer and my theory as to who the killer might be. So finally, after all this time, the trailer has now finally released. I've been waiting for this movie to come out since it got announced like a couple of years back. But then of course the pandemic slowed things down and So I am a huge Scream fan. It was the first slasher movie I ever watched growing up because I wasn't allowed to watch scary stuff because when I was a kid I used to get scared. But then when I became like a teenager and stuff, I don't know, I think what it was is that I heard Nev Campbell was going to be in it, and I think I heard Courtney Cox was going to be in it. And I knew Courtney from Friends, and I knew Nev from Party of Five. So I decided to take a chance and just watch it. You know what I'm saying? And I absolutely loved it. And since then, I like in my like late teens and early 20s, I was all about like slasher movies, and I was constantly watching them and buying them. And Scream was a big thing back in the day. It rejuvenized the horror genre because at a certain point in time, horror movies and slasher movies were really only like the 70s and 80s and before that. In the 90s, they kind of stopped because they started like doing more sequels and they sucked. Then Scream came along, and not only did Scream rejuvenize the slasher craze, but it restarted teen movies, like teen romance movie, teen comedies, because after a while they had all stopped. So Scream was a big thing, and it like jump started the careers of many people. Kind of ended the careers of some people, but it was a huge thing. So much that they now have their fifth movie. They even had a TV series. TV series wasn't all that great. It was okay, it had its moments, but it was more of a teen drama with just a slasher in it. I will talk more about the TV show later on this month. Then because of the dismal reception of Scream 3, it kind of killed the franchise for a good while. And I mean a good while. I don't know how many years passed, but it felt like it was a decade. And because with Scream 3, Nev was barely in it because of scheduling conflicts. And the new cast were a bunch of like D-list stars, and they did not do a good job whatsoever. And because of the ending of it, it wrapped everything up in a nice little bow. So, it was like trilogy was done. But then many years later, Wes Craven came back and did a fourth movie before he had passed away, sadly. And a lot of people were worried that the fourth movie might not be that good. I love the fourth movie. I think the fourth movie is very, 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 very good. The only problem with the fourth movie, it didn't live up to what it said it was going to do. It was supposed to restart the franchise with a new cast and everything like that. But they ended up bringing the older cast back, the three surviving cast members. And when the new cast did show up, it was like, okay, whatever. Let's get into them. But then the moment the older cast showed up, people straight up forgot about the new cast and didn't care for them no more. Like I know I didn't. And then of course they all dropped dead. It's like the new cast was all dead. And the original one still survived. But it was such a great movie. They kind of reused the killer theme of it being related to Sydney. That would happen in Scream 3. So it was almost kind of like they was erasing that in a way or trying to improve on that. And they did such a better job. I'll say this. Sydney's half-brother, it was interesting knowing that she had a half-brother. And he's the one who started all this mess when they thought it was just like Stu and all them. But like Julie, man, I think that's her name. Sydney's cousin, boy, she was nuts. And not only that, but they utilize what's going on in the world today with all these young people. They just want to be famous, and they will do it by any means necessary. And that's what the killer of Scream 4 wanted to do. It was a reboot / sequel where the young people just wanted to be famous, and that's why they did what they did. And that worked out beautifully. And I was worried that with the way cell phones have advanced, would that how could that be like contribute to Scream? Because Scream is really what kicked off the craze of cell phones and stuff. And so I was wondering that with the texting and stuff like that and the internet, like how are they going to incorporate that? They're going to make it like good for the movie, because the movie back in the day was just having like a person call on these old school cell phones and stuff. But they did it in a good way. Like it made sense. And I was very pleased. Going into this next movie, I was worried again because when horror movies and slasher movies start getting sequel after sequel, they tend to suck. And so I was very worried. And this once again, this has a very new cast. And it's like, what are these people going to be about? I was happy when I found out that Jenny Ortega was gonna be in this. I'm a huge fan of hers because of Stuck in the Middle. She's a really good actress. I was really happy and excited to know she's gonna be in this. And the scenes that had her, I was wondering how they're gonna use technology since it advanced again. And it was amazing. Her scene in the opening of the trailer, which gives away a lot of the movie. So, and sadly, she's gonna be the first to die. And that's what they do in Scream. They always get that famous person, and then they kill that person off really fast. And that's what happens to her. And so it was, I got chills when I was watching that scene in the trailer with her thinking oh, by the way, she's LGBT. She is the first real LGBT character in Scream. It was hinted at in the last movie, and it was in the TV show, but nobody really considers the TV show to be canon. So it was in hinted at in the fourth movie, but nobody knew if it was really true or not. And now we know for a fact because she's dating a girl in this named Amber. And she's texting Amber back and forth, but it's not the real Amber, it's Ghostface. And we see her demise in early on in the trailer, which is gonna happen early on in the movie. And the way they use technology in the cell phone, man, it gave me chills. With her using her cell phone to lock her house, to her house electronically and stuff. And the killer had access to her codes, so he was or he or she was unlocking the door. I'm like, oh man, but it does suck that the first Latino character in Scream is gonna die. So that's gonna suck. So there's gonna be some hatred towards that against the community. Also, because she is LGBT and she dies first, that's gonna be some huge backlash right there. Because the LGBT community gonna be like, why are y'all always killing us off in TV shows and in movies and this and that. But there is another I can't talk, LGBT character that is still gonna be in the movie, probably. Her girlfriend, Amber. Don't know if Amber's alive or dead, but we seen her because she's the Asian girl, and I saw her in the trailer, so she must gonna stay alive at some point in the movie. But yeah, when they see that she got killed off so early, there's gonna be some backlash to that. I was also happy to see Dylan Minnette in this. The dude, I've been a fan of this dude since The Haunting Hour, like R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour. He was in some really good episodes I can't wait to talk about this month. Also, he was in 13 Reasons Why. The first season's the only good season. But he's been in other stuff. He's been in Goosebumps, the movie. He's been in other horror stuff. The dude has a genre he likes to stick with. And it's more the thriller, suspense, horror type stuff. And so I've been wondering for the longest time, who's he gonna play in this? And why is his hair bleached blonde? I didn't understand that. But now I do. See, the premise of this whole movie is that all these new characters, the young cast, they're related somehow to the original characters of the Scream movie. So the killer is going after them for some reason. So if the killer is going after the relatives of the original characters, then Ghostface is also going to be related to somebody from the first movie. Now, I don't know if they're going to pull in other movies or not, but so far it's just the original movie. And Dylan is playing Wes Hicks. Now, Wes is a play on Wes Craven because he is the one who created the Scream movie, and he's a big horror director movie person, and he sadly passed away with the beginning of Scream TV series. And so, he's playing Wes Hicks. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, Who's he related to? Now, in Scream 4, they introduced a character named Judy Hicks. She is a police deputy. She's the blonde girl who's very peppy and she wears the bulletproof vest and she has a crush on Dewey and she doesn't like Gail. Also, it turns out in that movie, the fourth movie, that she went to school with Sydney, and I think Sydney took like a part in the play from her that she really wanted, and she was kind of like this shy girl who Sydney just never noticed. And the scene in which she explains that was very creepy and eerie to the point where you actually thought she might have been the killer in Scream 4. And so now I am wondering, is she gonna be still that like preppy, nice girl, like deputy person? Or is she really gonna have some animosity towards Sydney? And with her and this dude who plays Wes, don't know how he's related to her, but he's related somehow, probably like a little brother or something like that, or a cousin. So I'm wondering if like she could plan a scheming thing. But I don't necessarily think he's gonna be the killer. He might be one. I think there's gonna be two, because it appears there's gonna be two. And there should always be two. When they had just one killer in Scream 3, that was so lame, because I don't understand how they pull certain things off that made absolutely no sense. But there is another character here with a very famous last name, Chad Meeks, who of course is Randy's Meeks' nephew. Why do I say nephew? Because he has a sister named Martha Meeks who appeared in a small scene in Scream 3, which nobody knew Randy even had a sister. But, you know, now as you remember, Randy was obsessed with horror movies to the point where sometimes people assume he might have been the killer in the first Scream movie, but he wasn't. He survived until the second. Randy's killing in the second movie was highly controversial. People didn't see it coming. People still to this day are pissed. And the people who made the movie got a lot of hate mail for that. But then they brought Randy back as a cameo on the third one. That kind of makes sense and kind of doesn't. Like, fans just accept it for like whatever. Cause we just wanted to see him back. But yeah, now Chad is played by God, what's his name? Mason Gooding, which is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. And Mason is half black. So Martha was mixing it up. Now, here's the interesting thing. In the entire trailer, I only saw one black looking person. And he's getting attacked by the killer. So there's a good possibility he might not be the killer if he ends up dying. But as we all know, in the Scream movies, in the first one, and the third one, and the fourth one, every side killer, because there's always two, every side killer appears to have died in the movie, but then they're not really dead, they just faked their death. But in the third one, like I said, there was only one killer. I mean, he faked his death. And that setup was just weird. Like, that doesn't make no sense. That's why they needed two. Oh, that third movie. So anyway, yeah, every killer has faked their death and then reappeared in the end of the movie to be like, surprise, Sydney, and everything. So, so that's why I'm thinking his character just might be the killer. Because think about it. Fans are pissed off that Randy died. Randy was obsessed with horror movies. His sister always looked kind of like disturbed when she was in that movie. And then, so it's kind of like, what if she's upset? Like that the original three survived and Randy didn't. And Randy's supposed to be this big horror movie person who could have survived the horror movie that he was placed in, but didn't, And what if his nephew is just pissed and furious? Also, this would bring in the very first person of color killer and stuff. Also, the killer has to be related to somebody from the first movie, because speaking of Martha and Chad and Randy, Chad has a sister and she's biracial as well. So it makes me wonder, and she's gonna have some animosity towards her brother. Could she be a possible killer? I can't wait for this movie to come out next year. It should have came out this year, but that stinking pandemic, man. Every main killer was related to either Sidney or Billy Loomis from the first movie. Billy and Stu were the ipso facto like killers in the first movie. Then coming in the second one, Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mom, was the killer, and then she had a side accomplice in the form of Mickey. And Mickey was just this college student that knew Sidney. Then in the third one, Sidney's half brother she never knew about was the killer. In the fourth one, I think her name is Julie. Her cousin was the main killer, and then her cousin's like love obsessed friend was like the side killer and everything. Now, let's go back to Stu. There has been no reference of Stu relative wise since that first movie. So you gotta stop and think. If Sydney's family wanted revenge on her and became a killer, if Billy's family came back and wanted revenge, how come Stu's family hasn't? We know he has like at least a dad and stuff. Does he have any siblings? Does he have any cousins? You know, like did he make any offspring? Which is another because so like why hasn't his family come back in any shape or form? They just haven't. Now offspring. Speaking of Stu, one of these characters gotta be related to Stu somehow, because there's this one scene where it's like it pans in or out and there's like the person on the phone, and this looks so much like Stu's house from the first movie. So somebody is related to Stu in this movie and they're gonna have a party at his place. But the question is, how are they related to him? Billy and Stu, they were pretty active. We don't know exactly how active. But what if they spawned a child that nobody knew about? And the girl who got that baby, what if she had it in secret? Now, Stu dated, I forgot her name, that Rose McGowan character, the mean girl, Tatum, that's it, Tatum. Now he dated Tatum. We know Tatum didn't have no kid. Or what if she did in secret and just nobody knew about it, you know? And what if, because we knew that he cheated on her and stuff with Cece and stuff, or Casey or whatever her name was. And so what if he had like a kid? And what if Casey actually had his kid? And then, because think about it, Casey in the first movie, she was rich. So if she had a baby, you know her family's gonna either like put that thing up for adoption or get rid of it or something. So that's a possibility. You know, what if Stu? And then there's Billy. What if he had a kid from somebody else nobody knew about? It would be so much better if the killer was literally an offspring of one of the original two killers. And then just end the franchise after that. Keep Nev Campbell alive. You can get rid of the other two. I really don't care, because at some point they need to die. But keep Nev alive, Sydney. And just like, that would be the perfect ending. Because they need to stop this series before it gets ruined. And at some point it's going to get ruined. Because the TV show was nothing like fun to like watch after a while. Like it was okay, it was decent. But after a while, it left a stale taste in your mouth. And, it's just like, you can drink that expired milk after its due date, but after a while, that bitter taste ain't gonna go away. You know what I'm saying? And you might start like spitting up chunks and stuff. And it's so great. The dude who voiced the Ghostface killer in all the movies, and in the third season of the television show, the dude who voiced like Mojo Jojo, he's back once again as Ghostface. And I just love his voice. Surprise, Sydney. What's your favorite scary movie? We're gonna play a little game, Sydney. Like his voice is just like awesome. So it's great to have him back and stuff. And I can't believe he's the voice of Mojo Jojo and everything. Like, I am Mojo Jojo. Like I just love his voice. One thing I've noticed about this trailer is that it seems to be taking like points from Scream Season 3, the television series, in which the entire main cast is like people of color. Like I've never seen this many people of color in a horror movie before, unless it's like it was intended to be that way. And because normally in the Scream movies they're very white, and they'll have like in the first Scream movie I don't think there was not one single black person, no Asian person, no Hispanics. There's actually never been an Hispanic or Asian character in the Scream movies. They've only had like they had a black character in the second movie who was like Sydney's best friend, but she just played like the best friend. And then she dies. And then there was the camera dude in the second movie, and he lives, but he's barely in the movie, and he's only there for comedic relief. Then in the third movie, they had that one black dude, but then he dies towards the end, and he barely is in the movie. And then the fourth movie, I don't recall there being like a single black person whatsoever in that movie. And so it is nice to finally get some diversity in this franchise because it needed it badly because it was just always just like white people and stuff. Oh wait, there was a black person in Scream 4, the black cop. Oh, I completely forgot about the black couple that dies in the beginning of Scream 2. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.